Hi, I'm Jill Marshall and this is the introductory video for the human rights of women. I want to explain in this short video a little bit about the subject generally to give you an idea of what you will be studying. The subject is fascinating and I love it, and much of my research is based on the themes you will study. Many of the examples and issues you explore are contemporary human rights issues, such as female cutting or female genital mutilation, global domestic violence, rape and sexual assault, and the role international human rights law and international criminal law can play in addressing these atrocities. But I will come on to these in more detail when I explain what each topic involves. This subject largely investigates international human rights law as it applies to women's lives. Now that I mention the word women, you can consider the language used in this course, with the focus on women and women's lives. The course is not called Gender and Human Rights Law. However, you're encouraged to reflect on this and consider issues of gender and sexual violence that may affect not only women. And indeed, you can really reflect on what exactly it means to use the word woman or women at all. Both men and women are encouraged to take this subject. If you haven't studied human rights before, there will be enough material to work on, which will allow you to grasp the topic. Obviously, like any other subject, you will need to read around it more to pick things up quickly when we investigate the more specific women-centred focus of this course. This is a course where you will not simply be told to memorise and learn information, facts and figures, although that will be involved. Instead, you're encouraged to think, to reflect and to question what exactly human rights are for, what is their purpose. And particularly, you need to consider, by using the materials you're given in the study guides and in the relevant materials referred to in them, and your own examples from everyday news stories, whether human rights can and do apply equally to everyone everywhere. You need to specifically question whether they apply or should or can apply to women and men equally. There are currently 2 main textbooks for this course and 2 useful further reading books, including one of my own, Humanity, Freedom and Feminism from 2005. This essential reading is being updated and revised, and I hope there will be one main textbook in the next year or 2. But you will, of course, be kept up to date, and there are yearly recent development guides. There are also many articles and other essays scattered throughout the study guides as recommended further reading. These are all excellent pieces, and you're really encouraged to immerse yourself in these and all the materials together with the study guides to really reflect on the issues that you'll be learning about for yourselves. There are 4 topics. In topic A, is the theory underlying human rights male? You will evaluate the history and philosophy of human rights. Professor Catherine McKinnon, who is a well-known feminist academic lawyer, has questioned whether women are human. This may sound like a weird question, but it should seem totally understandable after your studies. I hope so. We delve into the human of human rights through its history and philosophy, and then on to more modern times and the revival of rights after the horrors of the Second World War in the universal international human rights system we have today. In topic B, feminist critiques of human rights, you are required to read and think about the human rights of women by referring to, reading and considering feminist legal theory. If you have studied jurisprudence or legal theory before, you may have studied part of this, but often you will not have. But in any event, no one will be disadvantaged for not having previously studied this. This is a totally fascinating part of the subject. Many of the thinkers you will be learning about produce innovative, creative, and in many people's eyes, very unusual ways of looking at what law is all about and what rights mean. In this topic, you will explore feminist theories of law, including different political orientations of feminism, for example, liberal feminism, critical or ethic of care feminism, radical feminism, postmodern feminism, and post-colonial and critical race feminism. I hope it already sounds interesting, because it definitely is. You will also learn about feminist criticisms of human rights and the failures and problems of human rights globally to deal with violations that happen to women. But you will explore how scholars have produced new versions of human rights which may have more meaning to fit women's lives. In Topic C, Institutional Framework and Documents Relating to the Human Rights of Women, you are provided with the basic framework of the international human rights system, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from 1948, the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, both from 1966. You will also look at the regional treaties and are required to consider how effective they have and can be, with particular reference to Africa, the Americas and Europe, including some women-specific treaties that deal only with women. So in this topic, you will also explore the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, which dates from 1979, often called the Women's Convention or CEDAW, which most countries in the world have signed up to, but often with reservations, so that parts of the convention or treaty do not apply to their country and the women within it. It's in this part of the course we look at cultural practices and concrete examples more specifically. And you will be asked to question the debates amongst feminists about female cutting, the Islamic headscarf, abortion as a human rights issue, and whether all cultural practices conflict with women's rights. And if so, and when these practices do conflict, how can and should such conflicts be resolved? Topic D, Individual Responsibility for Human Rights Violations and Linking Theory to Practice, has two main parts. The first explores in some depth the international criminal law system by reference to courts set up by the UN in the 1990s to deal with conflicts in the former Yugoslavia and Rwanda, and then the International Criminal Court. Case law from these courts shows concrete practical handling of violations that happened to women who were often viciously raped, held as sex slaves, suffered forced pregnancies and therefore forced to give birth, and used as weapons of war during times of conflict. Case law will be explored and you're encouraged to connect international criminal law with individual responsibility for crimes, and human rights law, where a state is responsible for violations. An important part of this topic, D, also involves considering globalization through ideas of global care and justice, considering how improvements may be made to make the world a better place. Somewhat idealistic, perhaps, but not a bad place for me to stop this introductory talk. So I hope this has given you a flavour of what's on offer, and I look forward to you taking the subject. It fits very well with human rights subjects of all types, with jurisprudence, with international criminal law, and also as part of a general LLM, as it gives you a fresh and original perspective on law in general. And it should give you an edge on many other students who have no understanding of these issues. Thanks.